We're going to be ranking the first season of The Three Body Problem, a series on Netflix, and I'm going to use my standardized framework to do that, which is broken up into 6 filmmaking categories. We have the plot, we're going to look at dialogue, aesthetics, character development, a genre specific category. It will be science in this scenario, given this series is sci-fi, and then we will have a category for my own personal amusement score. Did I enjoy it while I was watching it personally? So those 6 categories will give a value between 0 and 30, 30 being a perfect score, and that would result in an S tier or an S plus tier ranking. The tiers are S, A, B, C, D, and F with pluses or minuses. That is the framework, so why don't we look at the science category for the three body problem, and it's received a rating of 4.7 out of 5 for the science category, which is very good. The first category is, does the series throughout obey scientific principles? And I would say it does this very well. Not surprising, given that the series is based on a set of novels written by a former engineer who is very familiar with physical laws and the limitations of nature. There was one area of the show that stood out that seemed to disobey our understanding of science, and that is the AI helmet or the virtual reality headset. Obviously, we don't know the limitations of where VR can go, but I don't think it's possible to do or simulate a reality the way the show portrayed it by just a superficial interface with the helmet on the head. You would need a direct neural connection to either the brainstem or the cerebral cortex or some part of the brain in order to experience an entire reality as if you were transported to that realm and live in that environment where they're touching the sand, smell everything, just existing in that reality. It would not be possible without a direct neural connection. However, I think this was a strategic decision by the filmmakers and the screenwriters. Makes it more simple for plot development. It was more aesthetically pleasing, and I think overall it was a good choice to go down that route for the science fiction series. So 0.9 out of 1 for that subcategory. Next would be cerebral or vanilla exploration of known science. And the known science that consumed most of this subcategory is the three body problem, which the show does a great job of putting at the center of the series. So the Santee are the aliens. They live in a solar system that has 3 stars orbiting one another. These are their suns. And it takes advantage of and explores the idea of the three body problem, which posits, or which is known to be, that if you have 3 bodies of mass in a system that are comparable in size, it is unpredictable, or you cannot model what will happen in terms of their position or velocity over a long period of time. And this is due to the fact that the sensitivity of the system to initial measurements is extreme. So every measurement device we have has an uncertainty associated with it. So when we make a measurement of a system, let's say the position, the trajectory, the momentum, the velocity of the 3 bodies at a given point in time, there's a little bit of air wrinkled in there. And even the tiniest bit of air in the measurement will result in a exponentially different outcome over a long period of time for that system. And so the solution is that it's unpredictable, and this is what chaos theory posits, that given the extreme sensitivity to the initial conditions, we can only say that it's unpredictable what will happen in that system. And that's why it looks as if the three body problem is a random event or random occurrence when you have comparable objects in size and mass. If one of the bodies of mass were significantly smaller than the other 2, this would be called a restrictive three body problem, and it is possible, at least slightly more possible, to model and predict what will happen with that system. And so the series does a great job of capturing this idea and phenomenon. And they even do subtle references to with the chaotic eras too, I think, to chaos theory by calling every time they get wiped out, it's called the chaotic era because they can't predict what's going to happen with their planet due to the placement of their stars. And so, really cool, perfect 1 out of 1. Next subcategory would be creative exploration of unknown science. And the big concept here was the Sophons. And why don't we go ahead and check out a clip of the Sophons in the series.
To keep us from moving forward. Have you?
Yes. We are going to kill your science. We will do it with our Sophons.
And so a recurring theme in the novels was preventing any improvements in our fundamental understanding of physics and science, so that we are not able to advance technologically and in sophistication in order to defeat the Santee, which is possible given that they are 400 years away, I think 4 light years away, and given that we have a stable planet, we can develop our technology much quicker than them because they had to start over, and that's what's going to be expressed in this clip. But a really cool theme that the novelist came up with is killing science, and I really enjoy that creative concept.
What is a Sophon?
It's a proton. One we have turned into a sentient computer.
You can't make a computer that small. It's impossible.
Impossible for you.
Also, the voice acting is perfect. We'll get into that later. Really love how they delivered the Santee's voice and the alien's voice. Great voiceover work. And audio throughout this series is phenomenal.
The universe has more dimensions than the 3 we occupy. They are hidden, folded up far too small for us to see. But we have the technology to unfold them.
Now, there is a lot of technical physics and mathematics that uses higher dimensions. We don't actually know if they exist because we can't measure them or test them. So this is taking a fictional approach or speculative approach that there is higher dimensions, and then they even have the ability to manipulate those extra dimensions by unfolding them so that they can equip this proton that's unfolded. And once it's unfolded, it's the size of a planet. They can equip it with a bunch of technology and computer, making it a sentient supercomputer, apparently, that they call a Sophon. And then they can refold it so it's back to the size of a proton. And what they'll do is pretty cool. So let's continue.
All our resources to make 4 Sophons. 2 pairs of 2. Each pair is entangled. Connected on the quantum level. 2 remain with us.
Again, awesome use of the theory or the idea of entanglement, which has been scientifically tested somehow. I don't understand it. I haven't looked at the papers myself, but apparently if 2 quantum particles are entangled, no matter the distance between them, they are in interaction with one another. The internet literature at least points to the fact that they're not communicating with one another as if sending signals. It's some other phenomenon. And I'm a bit skeptical, and I really do want to actually look into this, what they mean by entanglement, at least what physicists are trying to communicate by this phenomenon called entanglement, because I think we might be using language that doesn't really apply by saying that they're entangled. But really cool use of the concept in the series, +0.2 for entanglement, because the Sophons rely on this concept in order to instantaneously see and hear everything that's happening on Earth, which is 4 light years away, but they can instantly hear and see it. These Sophons have the ability to manipulate particle accelerator experiments so that the data is chaotic and unreliable, so that we can't advance our understanding of fundamental physics. Really, again, a really clever idea by the novelist.
The other 2 we've sent to you. Everything they see and hear, we see and hear at the same time.
And then once they reduced it back to the size of a proton, that proton can only move at a maximum speed, which is the speed of light, or sea, and then it will reach Earth. And they sent it months ago, and they captured this idea that there was a limitation on how fast they could send the SOFON. So again, another plus 0.1 for that. Really cool. So overall, a 0.9 out of 1 for Unknown Science. I think I gave a deduction for, again, the virtual reality headset and the direct neural connection. Which, now that I think about it, I don't want to duplicate that entry. So, perfect score on creative exploration of Unknown Science. That brings the science score up to 4.8. And the other subcategories were, can you learn something? Obviously, you can learn about the three-body problem, or chaos theory, or entanglement. Those are the big concepts that you can learn about. There was also a reference to nanofiber material science, but I was completely ignorant about it and didn't learn anything based on their portrayal of it. But it was a really cool scene, and so creative exploration of material science. The last subcategory was, does the series prioritize the science? Do they romanticize the ideas and not just the people? Although there is a lot of romance in the series between individuals, maybe a bit too much. For some reason, everybody has an interest in everybody else. Maybe just a little overdone there, but it also does romanticize the ideas, I think, pretty effortlessly. Not perfect, but plus 0.3 for that. All right, let's move into the category of aesthetics. The aesthetics had a perfect score in the series. The scenery, everything looked really good. It was clean, futuristic, but modern. I think it was present day that this was the setting of, and it didn't go over the top. I just really liked how clean it was. Also, the style was really good. This color saturation, the vibrance. I think it was fitting the overall vision they had for the series. Did a really good job there. Costumes and props. Love the helmet, the way it looked, the simplicity of it. Like I said, there was a trade-off between physical accuracy in terms of the science and how it was portrayed in the show in terms of artistic approach, and the aesthetic choices, which I thought it did really well on. Very simple. Really like the packaging, even when Jack receives his headset. It's in this really cool packaging, and it has a little note inside. The SOFON creation was also pretty cool. I didn't show that, but I thought they did a good job there as well. That uses CGI, which is the next subcategory. Limited use of CGI is always better than overuse. And when they did use it in this series, I thought it was used appropriately and done well. So CGI is 1 out of 1. And then this is the biggest component, audio and sound was absolutely excellent, phenomenal. The ambience throughout every episode of the series was well put together, stitched perfectly. The sound engineers should get a raise or more opportunities because it was so good with the instrumentals in the background and the sense of urgency and the way that it made me feel as I was watching the series. They just captured the essence of what the three-body problem is all about. And so those sound engineers did a great job, great quality, capturing the mood, the atmosphere, the suspense of the series. Perfect 1 out of 1. So aesthetics, 5 out of 5. Next would be dialogue. They did excellent work, like we saw with the Santee. Their voice, that very mature woman voice, I thought was a good fit. So plus 0.2. The content of the dialogue was nothing extraordinary by any means. They didn't focus a lot there, which is fine. So default at 0.5. I actually did give a deduction for the overuse of the F word. That didn't seem to fit the show. At times, I think they were just trying to put too much emphasis by using the F word and other curse words. And it didn't fit, I don't think. So minus 0.1 there. So content is 0.4, delivery 0.7. The setting was the UK, and they also went to China a few times. And so they did a good mix of that. I think Augie was from South America, and they did a really good job maintaining accents as if they were actually from those areas. And then when they were in China, they actually spoke the language of Chinese, which is good. I think that's creative and good for a good show. And then chemistry, the intelligence officer and the intelligence officer director, Wade, had really good chemistry. Augie and Saul, I felt, didn't have good chemistry. The military boyfriend of Jin, with Jin, was a good chemistry. Jin and her secret admirer was awful. That was minus 0.1. So just everything offset, leaving it at its default of 0.5 for chemistry between the actors. Body language, Jin's facial expressions were really good, and intensity. And then the intelligence officer, under Wade, was perfect. Yeah, no care vibes, but something exceptional about his ability to do his job was really good. So plus 0.1 there, so it results in a total of 0.7. So dialogue score 3.3 out of 5. Next category is character development. Biggest component here is casting. This is actually worth 2 points. How well they cast for the different roles. Jack Rooney was excellent, played by John Bradley. Jin Chang, played by Jess Hong, was really, really good. Ye Wenji, played by Rosalind Chow, at least the older version. Really good casting there. She really portrayed deceit and power very well. Da Shi, he was perfect. He was probably my favorite, played by Benedict Wong. He was the investigator that had seemed like he didn't care, or he was not good at his job, but he was actually excellent and has a unique talent that nobody can really understand or comprehend. But just his body language and the way he interacted with different characters in the scenes was just flawless. So great job by Benedict Wong playing Da Shi. Thomas Wade, played by Liam Cunningham. He's the IO director. Perfect for his ability to display leadership. I felt like he was in control and executing everything, and so did a great job. The rest of the actors played their roles really well, or well enough that they weren't problematic, and so a score of 2 out of 2 for casting. I thought the next subcategory is how well they fit the setting. The setting is UK academics and Chinese academics, as well as law enforcement. The law enforcement's fine. They made them more dramatic maybe than they really are. What I thought they were doing at first was poorly portraying academics and how they actually behave. But I think that was actually intentional based on later scenes in the series, so I left it at its default of 0.5. Lesser roles are memorable, not annoying. That's the next subcategory. The head of the Planetary Defense Council and assistant to Saul, she did a really good job. I felt like as a lesser role, she really stood out and was magnanimous, played the role really well, and was meaningful, impactful. So plus 0.2 there. However, minus 0.4, a big deduction for the secret admirer role, which apparently wasn't even meant to be a lesser role. That was a main character, and I just thought they did a terrible job developing that character. And we'll just leave it at that. I guess, I don't know what they were thinking. It was just annoying. His role in the series was just, I hated every time they would go to his scenes. It's not saying that the actor did a poor job, just the screenwriter's development of that character and portrayal of that character was not done well. So minus 0.4 there, giving a net score of 0.3 for the memorableness of lesser roles. Last category or subcategory would be thoughtful portrayal. Did a great job representing the cult, including the children and parents, following a charismatic leader in Mr. Evans and Ye Wenji. They convinced their followers into believing that the Lord, the aliens, were good for them and humanity. And I just thought how they portrayed the cult and how Mr. Evans was able to convey the message from the Lord to the people and convincing them to go along with their agenda was really well done. So good score there, but total 3.6 out of 5 for character development. Last category before my personal ranking is the plot. I won't go into much detail here because it's just full of spoilers, but there were about 3 different climaxes, 1 major one and 2 smaller ones. They did a good job here with suspense and drama, and the climaxes were meaningful. So 1 out of 1. Unexpected and meaningful developments. There was a lot of plot twists, a lot of good ones. 4 I noted that were really interesting to me, and they did a good job here. 1 out of 1. It's really important that characters can die. If no character can die, it's really hard to have a plot twist. So they do have characters that die, meaningful characters that die. So 1 out of 1 for that. Embracing the unknown is the next subcategory. In order to build suspense and drama and put a little bit of fear in an audience, you need to make the unknown present, but without revealing that unknown. And I think they did a really good job, specifically with the Santee, by never actually showing what they look like. That is really important for any alien or sci-fi TV show or film. And so that's just one aspect. There was many of them. I think I have 6 listed here, but again, I don't want to reveal everything. But a 1 out of 1 for embracing the unknown is a subcategory. Flashbacks. Any show or film that uses flashbacks is troubling. I don't think it's a good storytelling device. It's confusing. It's frustrating. So if there's any flashback greater than 2 minutes in an episode of a series or greater than 5 minutes in a film, they will receive a 0. Fortunately, the first 2 episodes rely heavily on flashbacks, making it very confusing, and I think it's unnecessary. Although it is how the novel is structured, but don't like flashbacks, so 0 for flashbacks. Last subcategory is too many storylines that are unrelated and don't tie together. That wasn't an issue here. I set the threshold of 3. There was only 1 storyline that I thought was unrelated, which was the secret admirer of Jin, even though they made it tie in for relevance. But even the outcome of that relationship made no sense in terms of the developments that the screenwriters put in place. So, but because it's less than 3, we have a perfect 1 out of 1 for that. That results in a plot score of 4. And so the final score is 25.2 out of 30. This is an A+ tier ranking. And so I'll throw that into the A+ tier ranking. This is the first film or series I did, and as I watch more stuff, I'll do more reviews and throw them into this tier set right here. And so this is the first A+ for my rankings. Really enjoyed it. Oh, I forgot to give my personal ranking to get to 25.2. Apologies. Sorry about that. My personal enjoyment or amusement score was 4.7 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. I was engaged really well throughout. Loved the sound design and ambience, the way it made me feel. I enjoyed falling asleep to the show. So I gave it a 4.7 out of 5. The deductions were for... I was annoyed by the fact I didn't know the characters' names throughout. An unusual thing to experience when watching a show, is you don't know the characters' names. The other deduction was almost stopped watching after the first episode. I was confused as what was going on. Big part of that was the flashbacks. And then, why is everybody romantically interested in everybody? Everybody had some sort of romantic relationship. I think this was just a little overdone. So minus 0.1 there. So just 3 deductions of 0.1, resulting in a score of 4.7. And we will end this video there. See you guys in the next one. Take care.